nice.
All right, Coach. Where are we? This is not Santa Monica track. What's going on here?
Yeah, this is Stoner Park.
Now, what does that mean? Do people come here to get high?
Well, they used to. You could never even come here. It was so dangerous.
Really?
Now, yeah, at night.
So this place is it's actually called Stoner Park because it's off Stoner Avenue.
Right, Stoner Avenue.
But people used to actually come here to buy drugs.
They did.
Not just pot, I'm guessing. Like some serious stuff?
No, this was tough in here, but now it's all completely different.
Yeah.
And but it has a baseball field, it has tennis courts, it has
that's right, Smelodies. Cheech and Chong used to hang out here.
They did.
And they had some nice dreams.
And they have a basketball facility and a skateboarding, really nice skateboarding facility.
This is No-Sparring Nick. Nick Scope, say what's up. This is Ring Magazine's Japan correspondent, but he's a man of the world. He actually traveled out to Los Angeles to take in the rematch between Leo Santa Cruz and Abner Maris.
Good fight.
2 quick questions. I know it was a good fight. Those guys have amazing stamina. It's just incredible. Their punch output. But how did you score the fight? And how would you describe the atmosphere from inside Staples?
The atmosphere is a lot easier to describe than the score. Trying to pay attention to how many punches are thrown in a fight like that is like trying to look at the blades of a fan. You know they're going around and around, but you know how many times, it's really hard to count. The atmosphere, unbelievable. LA, there's at least 14,000 people. Just remarkable. Everyone was booing Charlo at the end of his fight.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun to watch. They're just lively in LA.
That's true.
It's a lot different than Tokyo, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. And you don't do that. You don't boo and you don't cheer too robustly.
No, you're quiet.
In Japan.
You sit there. They make some noise when the fighter comes in or out, or if there's a flurry of punches. But there's really not much security either because everyone just stays in their seat. And it's pretty calm and cool and collected. Yeah.
All right. Dave, give me your thoughts about Terrence Crawford and Jeff Horn. And you watched it, right? You have ESPN Plus.
I was at dinner with the family for a birthday at a restaurant, fancy restaurant, watching my ESPN Plus, the whole thing. It was so great. I couldn't hear anything, but it was exactly the way we knew it was going to go.
Now, did you have the sound on or off?
No, the sound was off.
Yeah, okay, so you were being polite. Very good.
Well, sort of, a little bit. But it was, from the very first second, Crawford was spectacular.
Yeah.
And we knew that was going to happen. The odds dropped. Everyone bet on Horn.
Yeah, he must have had some Australian.
It was all Australian betting.
Betting backing.
It was such a no-brainer. But Bob Arum was such a genius. He knew. The way he puts this together, so we know positively the next fight is Crawford-Pacquiao.
Yeah. Man, this guy says Horn fight stopped too soon, in my opinion. What, you want to see a guy get killed? I thought it was hard to watch from round 7 on. Round 7, 8, 7 and 8, and going into the 9th, I was like, the corner should really think about pulling the plug because Horn couldn't defend himself.
But I know what this guy is saying.
He couldn't go in there and make it an ugly fight, and he couldn't make it a wrestling match. He couldn't go in there and out-muscle Crawford. So he had nothing against Bud.
How do you like the way that Crawford moves? Wow.
Perfect. It's very effective weight.
No, he was good. That was a good fight, but Bob Arum,
Smelodies OG. First of all, he asked you, Nick, about Japanese fans. Do they drink beer?
No.
No. and to you, Coach, he asked, do you think Pacquiao needs the money that badly that he would get in there and fight Crawford?
No, I think what it is Arum wants to fight. Arum is the greatest at selling.
Yeah.
The guy that used to run Showtime that died.
Yeah, Jay Larkin.
Jay Larkin said the only guy that intimidated him in negotiating was Bob Arum.
Yeah.
And so Bob Arum's really shrewd. He's got the whole thing planned out. It's so obvious, but they knew exactly what was going to happen. I think
everybody knew what was going to happen in that fight. Horn was going to lose.
But the way he lost.
But I think 90% of the people who made a prediction on it said late stoppage, which was the only way to.
Exactly.
So there was some folks who said, "Oh, he'll blow him out early," but I'm like, "Nah, that ain't happening."
Horn's too big for that.
Yeah, he's too big and he's too tough.
So JP made a lot of money. the price kept coming down and down.
Oh, good, yeah.
He bet on the knockout, and
yeah, I'm curious to see how to hear how JP did. This guy says looking past Matisse might pull it off. I agree. Rod R76. I think Matisse is very live against Pacquiao. In fact, I can see the machine winning by knockout. And in which case, you agree?
Yeah,
you can see that?
Yeah,
in which case,
strong.
that's a natural opponent for Crawford. He's got a name. He'll be coming off a big win. And Crawford will be something like a 8-1 favorite in that, and rightfully so.
He would be. It'd be a good knockout, a good name on the list for his resume. I mean, Alibi is not a top, 10 guy anymore.
No.
But it would definitely be, a fan-friendly fight. And sometimes you need those. You can't always be the number 1 versus number 2 guy.
No.
Unfortunately, we want it. But Batisse's a fun guy. He's fun to watch. That's for sure.
Yeah, and in the welterweight division right now, also there's some divisions in terms of network and promotional and managerial affiliations that are going to keep those best from fighting each other.
Slow going.
Well, at least keep the Heyman guys from fighting
They
Crawford.
still don't have a date, do they? Sean Porter and Danny Garcia, is it actually? I mean, they said August, September.
Yeah.
They still haven't even figured out a date. I mean, what are we supposed to do with this? I mean, Brandon Rios fights more than these guys.
Who do you like in that fight?
Oh, I'm going to go with my guy Sean Porter. I mean, he's there. He's all for it. He seems to be more about boxing than Danny Garcia. He's got his own side business thing. Just on that, alone, I have to give him some type of, mental edge, I suppose. But, you can never count Danny Garcia out.
Yeah.
Because of course, I was for Khan back in the day, and then here came little Danny Garcia, swiftly put him down with the body shot. It was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And ever since then, Danny Garcia. Speaking of, Matisse, Danny Garcia beat Matisse. That was a fun fight. I kind of wanted to see a rematch of that, too. That never transpired, unfortunately. But
Smelodies OG says Danny's hook is always a threat, and I would agree with that. His right hand isn't bad. He's a good boxer. He's stronger than people give him credit for, and he's smarter than a lot of fans give him credit for. And I don't think anyone has an easy time with him.
Agreed. He luckily has been staying away from Chino's ranch, and he hasn't put on the weight like he has, and so he's still game. How old is Matisse now?
Matisse, 35.
Yeah, he's up there. He's 35, and Pacquiao's like what,
39.
39.
Yeah.
Wow.
Manny Pacquiao turned pro in 1995, guys. He does not need to be fighting anymore.
I think Pacquiao's going to win that fight, and then he's going to fight Crawford.
And then he will be forced to retire. Because
Yeah.
that'll be a retirement ass whipping right there.
Yeah, for sure.
He's better off fighting Lomachenko. And Lomachenko will embarrass him.
Well, that was originally supposed to happen, right?
Yeah.
It was geared
either
up to
way,
be
listen,
Lomachenko.
Arum, he understands boxing. He's been around for decades. He knows there's sort of a ceremonial passing of the torch that happens in the sport.
Right. He's been trying to get that torch passed for a while, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, we've been talking about that for a few years, but finally, I was hoping it was going to be Lomachenko. I wanted to see him go up another division and put him down. And Freddie Roach has been saying for years that Pacquiao can come down to 140, but we haven't seen him do that since when.
Yeah, I think that would need to happen for the Lomachenko fight to happen.
I think so, but even Pacquiao, he could miss a couple pounds if he wanted to, and his fight would still be made, and there's nothing Lomachenko would have, theoretically been able to do, hypothetically. But it'd be fun to watch Crawford do it too, but Pacquiao didn't want to fight him before, right? They had trouble trying to make that fight. Pacquiao asked for $20 million, and it couldn't be made. And
I'd ask for $50 million.
After last time,
No, you know what? I would do what happened with Joe Louis back in the day when he fought the Cinderella Man, Jim Braddock. They're like, we'll get you a shot at the title, but we got to get a percentage of all of your title bouts for 10 years or something insane.
You know what percentage he sold?
I don't know.
200%.
no.
He sold everything.
Yeah.
Then he wound up being a greeter at the Caesar's Palace. I saw him there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he was. And I remember then, but passing the torch when Marciano knocked him out.
Yeah.
You don't remember that, right?
I wasn't around. A little bit before my time. I've seen clips of that though.
Yeah,
I don't know if I've watched that entire film, because I don't like seeing the great ones get crushed.
It's really sad.
There's a lot. So I've never seen Marciano Lewis. I've never seen Holmes Ali. I've never seen Leonard in its entirety. I've never seen Leonard Terry Norris. Even though both were like my favorites, I never seen 1 second of Leonard versus Hector Camacho.
Yeah.
I've never seen Roberto Duran versus William Joppy. Like all that, where I know my guy, the hero, is going to get annihilated. I don't care. I won't watch it.
So the best thing could happen to Pacquiao if he loses a decision in this next fight and then retires.
I don't think he can lose a decision where this fight's taking
Malaysia?
place. No,
Yeah.
He's the promoter and he raised the money.
Yeah.
He's the actual
No,
promoter.
Matisse got to knock him out. You got to knock him out if it's going to win. But whatever.
let's say it's an easy knockout.
Okay.
And then he quits.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Pacquiao.
Yeah.
But it's just.
It's hard to walk away from this kind of money, though, even if you got money, you know.
Well, Canelo's doing that right now.
Is he? Well, he's sitting out. He's got time on his side.
I know.
He's not 39. He's 27.
I saw the fake Canelo lookalike, the Canelo lookalike at the fight last night. He's been making his rounds with Sean Gibbons. He's a character. The crowd, we're talking about the atmosphere at Staples last night, so there's this.
That's how nutty they were. They were into fake Canelo. They were like, yeah.
The whole crowd was whistling and they were booing him too. They knew he wasn't. they knew he wasn't real, but they were definitely, against this fake Canelo. It was hilarious. I wish.
Hey, question for all three of us from Boxnard: does Spence beat Crawford?
That's tough.
That's a tough fight. I don't know.
Pay-per-view, I'd buy it.
Wow, would that be
Spence has got the size and the power advantage in there, and he's a very good technician. But I think Bud's a better all-around fighter. Bud can do it all. He is a well-rounded. You know the amazing thing about Bud? Like Spence is an Olympian. Bud was not an Olympian. Bud wasn't one of these like international superstar amateur boxers. It's pretty amazing that he is ranked right up there with the likes of Gennady Golovkin and Vasyl Lomachenko, who were in the Olympics and won medals. In the case of Lomachenko, 2 gold. Hey, speaking of Lomachenko, people, hey, I'm representing, okay? And you've got some. I got
some questions.
You got some questions for me,
Maybe
and a jump rope. Maybe Nick, you can grab this.
Nick can do the.
Don't be shy about asking the questions.
Okay. Check out.
They're not coming in hard and fast as they would if this was Tom Loeffler. Oh, by the way, what's up to Tom? He is Mr. Loeffler is in Canastota, New York, for the International Boxing Hall of Fame induction weekend. Today, Vitaly Klitschko is being inducted into the Hall of Fame, and Vitaly's brother Vladimir is there, and Tom Loeffler is there representing the Klitschko brothers. And shouts out also to Ring Magazine associate editor Tom Gray, because he's there in Canastota representing the publication. And shouts out to Samir and his girlfriend, who were, I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're driving up Pacific Coast Highway. They're traveling together. So.
Boxnard asks, does Mikey Garcia beat Robert Easter? It's a unification fight.
It's a difficult fight for Mikey, though, because of the height and the reach of Easter. But Easter has to fight tall if he wants to be competitive with Mikey, because Mikey's very powerful and accurate as a lightweight. Not so powerful as a junior welterweight, but I think at 135 pounds, he's got enough speed and snap, and he's strong enough to where he's got that one-hitter quitter. At least he proved to be that way against Dejan Zlatikanin. Now, Dejan, a totally different fighter than Robert Easter, at least stature-wise and style-wise.
How do you think ESPN Plus did last night?
I think they probably got at least a lot of people to try the 7-day trial.
It's a little difficult to figure it out.
Well, here's one thing. I couldn't figure out how to get it on my TV. I don't have Roku. I've got something called the Fire Stick. I've got Amazon Fire. And I was able to find an area, a department or a section within the Fire Stick where it just has a bunch of apps. And I found the regular ESPN app to where I can watch, ESPN shows. But I couldn't find ESPN Plus.
Yeah, that's
so
pretty good on this uneven.
It's a little bit short, so it's I got to kind of hold it. Yeah.
Hey, so let me ask you, Nick.
Yeah.
Do you think Dougie knows his stuff?
Yes.
Wait, is it crazy?
No, he definitely. You guys both know your stuff.
Well, but Dougie's like a genius. I mean, it's like I can't tell you how many people call me every single week, especially Dean Hamilton, who really knows his stuff.
They think it's fake. They think it's staged.
No,
It's like quiz kids.
Well, you know, no one has brought up to me that they think it's fake. They really believe you. So it's all. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy how he knows this stuff from way before he was born. I don't know how he retains it all. Then he knows the backstory and everything. It's pretty good.
Oh, that's
Got
why.
like, if you see my home office, Dave, it's like a boxing library.
Yeah.
Tons of magazines and books.
But you have that ability to retain all this stuff.
I'm interested.
Still,
I'm interested in boxing.
It's a natural gift. I mean, you can't learn that stuff. It's incredible. But I have a few questions. We'll just stick them in between. Okay, so this fight was June 6th, 1988. And I get all these things from Dennis Taylor's Ringside Boxing Show. Do you ever see that website? It's the best. It's he used to be the boxing sports writer for the Monterey Herald, and now he just does this. He has this website. It's incredible, and every day, I watch it a few times a day. He has today's headlines, and he has a whole list. It's really easy to go through. So it's called the Ringside Boxing Show. And then if you go to today's headlines, and the way he has them outlined, it's really easy to get to, and he's got stories you wouldn't see. You know, he's. I mean, it's really.
Yeah, that's the good thing. You find some stuff.
Yeah, he has stuff that you would never see
outside the normal.
Yeah, but it's all
news
interesting.
Cycle.
It's really good, and also he has a podcast. He has a radio show every Sunday, which also you can get. You can get it on.
See your favorite podcast? There's a lot of podcasts out there.
Well, I have a lot that I really like, but I think the 3 knockdown rule might be my favorite. And I used to listen to when Steve Kim had the next round, which actually, you know, Doug. And when Doug first went into that, he just thought he was helping him out, setting up the microphone, and then he was in it.
I didn't think I was supposed to be on camera.
Right, he didn't know.
Yeah.
And
I was back with Max Boxing, and it was the brainchild of Steve Kim and Gary Randall.
Yeah.
And they were the ones talking about it and planning it for months, weeks and months. So I just assumed it was going to be something that Steve and Gary did.
Yeah.
And Gary's like, I ain't getting on camera.
Yeah.
You get on there.
So, quick question.
Hey, do you remember? I was really stiff, too.
Yeah, I know.
Rodriguez RPM asked Parker or White, that surprise fight that was announced a couple days ago.
I don't know who to pick in that. I think I slightly favor Parker. I think he's more battle tested. He's got slightly more experience, and I think his whiskers are a little bit more reliable. Plus, you know, in his fight with Anthony Joshua, he showed that he could be crafty. The way he boxed in that fight, it was like he wasn't successful, but he was trying to set traps for Joshua, and Joshua wouldn't fall for it. White might fall for it because White's a supremely confident guy, and for good reason. He's got a lot of great tools, and I like watching Dillian White a lot. But honestly, I think it's a toss-up fight. It really is.
Do you think it was a good decision for him to go into this fight with Parker as opposed to?
Well, I think he knew that the WBC was going to string him along because, you know, like the IBF can't wait to strip guys if they don't fight the mandatories. WBC is a little more lax on that, particularly when whoever holds the WBC belt is a star or a moneymaker, or if the people behind that WBC title holder are very powerful and influential, as Al Heyman is.
Right.
So they want to keep those guys happy. So they'll string along a mandatory challenger. It's not like the IBF where it's like, time's up, you're not ready to fight, give me the belt. You know, they just do it like that. I think there's a middle ground between those approaches to it, to the mandatory situation. But I think that that was going to be difficult negotiations, even in a mandatory situation. So it's like let's make a significant fight, and I like that. I mean, I want to see more of that because that's the biggest problem I have with the middleweight division right now. So you've got all these guys, right, that hardcore fans are really hyped about. Jermall Charlo, you got Sergey Derevyanchenko, who some people say, well, Golovkin was ducking this guy, you know, so he must be something, right? And you got Danny Jacobs, you got Demetrius Andrade. And here's the problem. If you look at their resume, they don't really have a significant middleweight victory because they're not fighting each other. They could be fighting each other, but they get like a mandatory status like Charlo and Derevyanchenko, and they just want that shot. If they don't want that shot at Triple G, then they want Canelo. And they're not fighting each other. So when you say, well, what's the best win that Jermall Charlo had? At middleweight, right? It's like nobody. Sebastian Hyland was garbage. Hugo Centeno? I mean, that's a dude you spar with to get ready for a tall, legit middleweight contender. You know, Derevyanchenko has one real win, you know, and that was against Toriano Johnson, who really wasn't like a legit top 10 guy, you know what I mean? And other than that, who does he have on his resume? Sam Solomon, who was like old and crippled. And it goes on and on. Demetrius Andrade, who is he beaten at middleweight? Nobody, you know? But everyone's excited about these guys being in there, and Danny Jacobs, at least Jacobs fought Golovkin. He didn't beat Golovkin. So Jacobs has got like, what's Jacobs' best win at middleweight? Is it Kid Chocolate? I don't know.
That was an impressive first round TKO, right?
That was a while ago. You know what I'm saying? That was a while ago. So I like that Dillian White is a top 10 heavyweight, and he's a WBC mandatory, but he's not just going to stand in line. Nope, I'm not going to take any risks. I'm just going to wait till I get this shot at the title or whatever. He's fighting a fellow top 10, maybe top 5 heavyweight. I give him a lot of credit for that, and I wish the middleweights would do that, and I wish the welterweights would do that as well.
I have to ask for your guys' wisdom then. So you said how they're kind of all looking for that one shot and they're not fighting each other. Well, back in the day, it seemed like there was rematches and there was trilogies and there was, you know, legacy
because there
fights.
were less options. There were less options. You were all on the same highway.
And the
there was only one champion.
The rematch
or two
might
champions.
Be 2 or 3 weeks after the first fight.
Well, you know, you're going back to the 40s. that was because that's how you. The only way you got paid was by fighting often. It wasn't. Boxing hadn't emerged as a TV property yet, and there wasn't TV money or closed circuit money or anything like that. So there was just a live date. There was that kind of.
So let me ask you this, Doug. Is Canelo still Ring Magazine's middleweight champion?
Yes, he is. He shouldn't be.
So I saw in
if we were to follow our rules, he shouldn't be. But
Triple G has a Ring Magazine.
I tell everybody, I'm the editor of the Ring. I'm not the owner of the Ring. And we all know who the owner of the Ring is. So draw your own conclusions, you young Sherlocks out there.
Triple G posted on his Instagram.
Yeah.
A Ring Magazine belt. Did you have anything to do with that?
Yeah. and the timing was good. I brought that belt to Hollywood Fight Nights, which was another fun night of club fights in Hollywood, put on by 360 Promotions. But I bought that belt the same day that the IBF announced that they were going to strip Gennady. So, but that belt's the pound for pound belt, because Gennady Golovkin is Ring Magazine's #1 ranked fighter pound for pound.
Erod asks Derevyanchenko or Charlo, if they fought each other, who would win?
I have no idea.
Because we haven't seen them fight anybody.
We haven't seen. I mean, like, who have they fought?
Right.
Derevyanchenko. I think Derevyanchenko's a beast. He's a strong technician with a vast amateur experience. He's mature. He's like 32 years old, but he has 12 pro fights. He has 12 pro fights, and Jermall Charlo at this stage, he's more accomplished as a junior middleweight than he is as a middleweight. So it's hard to tell. But I mean, Charlo's got the speed. He's got the height and the reach. He can employ a stick and move game plan, but he's also he wants to fight. He wants to mix it up, just like Jermell. Jermell had a lot of trouble with Trout because Jermell was so intent on taking Trout's head off that by Trout just sticking to sort of a boxing style, staying on the outside and working his jab, that bothered him. Like, so. I don't know. I could see Jermall go in there and thinking, I'm going to blast this dude the way I blasted Centeno, the way I blasted all these other guys, Sebastian Hyland, and I think Derevyanchenko can take a shot, and he's physically very strong, and he's a good infighter as well. So got a good trainer. He's got Rozier.
Boxnard asks.
I don't know.
Boxnard asks on that note, does the rematch happen between Triple G and Canelo then? Those guys fight, everyone else can fight?
What's your hunch? It changes week to week, doesn't it?
I mean, I'm lost. I don't know.
How's the wind blowing today?
That's the honest answer right there.
This is
So's everybody else, though.
I was so positive, but this is the one thing. When the fight was first announced, I was positive it wasn't going to happen. Positive. And I don't think Canelo's afraid of Triple G. I think he wants to fight him, but he wants a year. He wants Triple G to get older, and I think he wants to wait it out. And I don't think it's just him. I think it's the whole team. And if it was me, I'd do the same thing. Exactly. I'd do it a different way. I think when Oscar got Triple G pissed off the way he was, saying these things, I don't think it was really smart. I think the best way, I talked about this before, when you negotiate, you want to bring everyone to a comfort level. You don't want to get them mad at you. And so I think that was the mistake. So now Triple G was stuck on 50-50, which I think I understand it totally. And
Erod says, let's just make it for a 60-40. Let's get it signed, people. 60-40.
That's fair.
Yeah, no, that's real fair. And I'm positive that they could talk Triple G into doing that. I don't think Canelo would do it.
Interesting.
I don't care what he says. I think even if they come back at 65-35, I don't think Canelo wants to fight for the reasons I said. And I think, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all. I just think their approach wasn't the right approach.
Yeah.
So anyway, I have a couple.
Okay, all right. Yeah, you gave me a date. Was it 88?
Yeah. It was.
All right. What
it was 6-6-88. This
so
fight,
June 6, 1988.
Yeah. Upset of the year. KO3. Las Vegas. Middleweight title. WBC middleweight title.
WBC.
You watched it for sure.
WBC middleweight title.
Yeah.
Upset of the year.
Yeah.
Where was it?
Las Vegas.
In Las Vegas.
The guy who won by the knockout was on the verge of getting knocked out.
Oh, is this Iran Barkley?
Yeah, right.
Knocking out Tommy Hearns?
Right.
Yeah, he was. He was getting chopped up, wasn't he? The Blade.
And who did the Blade knock out in a real big upset at the Palladium in Hollywood?
Oh,
Yeah.
Jerry Coetzee.
Right, I was there.
That was a heavyweight fight.
I was there. And
you sicko.
And who else fought that night?
Carlos Palomino.
Right. Yeah. That was good.
It's like 40. He was my age.
That was
Palomino was my age now.
And who did Palomino fight next?
He fought Wilfred Rivera, Puerto Rican, top 10 welterweight contender,
Right.
who had given Pernell Whitaker a tough fight in their first match.
I was at that. Were you at that fight?
No.
I was there.
No.
Olympic Auditorium.
I considered it, but I was just like,
Oh, no.
I was
it
like, come
great.
on, what is this?
Hey,
You're
Palomino,
sick.
my hero.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
No,
I mean, the guy to be off 17 years,
no, that was a hell of a story.
come back.
I wrote about it. Those are like the first boxing. Those are like the first stories I wrote for the House of Boxing. I think that was '97.
You know, the reason he came back is he was
His
off
father
17
wanted him
years.
to
His
stay retired.
His dad died.
Yeah, that's what brought
His
him back.
dad died. He went to the gym just to relieve the grief, and he's sparring with guys. And it's, wow, this is crazy. He's so good. And so some guy signed him. He got $1 million for 4 fights.
That's not
I
bad.
forget who signed him. I don't
know.
know. And the 4th fight was Rivera, and then.
It's a great story.
It's incredible, and Palomino. I mean, he was in
Skills.
skills. He was good. Who was Palomino's trainer manager?
Was that Jackie McCoy? Boy, had some special fighters.
Yeah. And Palomino, you know, when he got that fight against John Stracey, for the title,
He was an underdog.
huge.
He wasn't
underdog.
ranked. He wasn't ranked.
He's huge, but what
I mean, he
happened
wasn't
is
ranked like by the ring.
He was like a club fighter.
Yeah.
And every single fight, he'd be losing the first 6-7 rounds.
Yeah.
And then he'd knock the guy out.
Took him
in
a
the
while
8th
to
or
get
9th.
what? Here's the thing about a 10-rounder was never enough for Palomino. He needed at least 12 rounds. 15 rounds was the perfect distance for him. So once he won that title, it made him a better fighter because his biggest strength was determination and endurance, conditioning. So the 15-round era was great for him.
And intelligent.
And he's smart, yeah, absolutely. A college grad. But you know, he had. I think he was he either lost or he was held to a draw by Hedgeman Lewis, who was pretty long, you know, battle worn and long in the tooth by the time Palomino fought him. Oh, and by today's standards, I mean, yeah, Hedgeman Lewis, forget about it. Everybody would be drooling over Hedgeman. They'd be saying like he's pound for pound.
Okay, who was Hedgeman's first title defense?
Well, I don't know if he ever defended a title. His first title shot?
No, title defense.
Title defense?
Palomino.
Oh, Palomino.
I'm sorry. Palomino's first title defense.
Was it Mando Muniz?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and who was the ref?
I don't know.
Yes, you do.
Who's the
You
ref?
know the ref.
I don't.
The guy who floated like a
I
ballet
forget.
dancer.
Yeah, he's a former fighter. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget his name.
John Thomas.
John Thomas.
Okay,
He's got
Some tough
I
questions.
almost said Tom Johnson.
Okay, let me. What was the date? Where was the fight, and how did it end? Yes, you do.
The first fight, so his first defense, that was his first fight against Muniz.
Yeah.
And I think that ended in a 15-round stoppage.
Yeah.
Right.
You
I
do
don't
know.
that. No, I just know that much.
Where was it?
Because I know the rematch was at the Olympic.
Yeah. And so
And that was
this one.
so both fights were at the Olympic, but the rematch went to a decision.
Yeah. it
And
did.
Palomino needed to like win
Yeah.
like the last 6 or 7 rounds.
Okay, who was the TV announcer? And did he have? You do know. Wait,
I did know.
Dougie, you know it now. He did it alone.
Yep.
He was incredible.
Yeah. And
He's
this
a
is on
legend.
YouTube, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
a great fight. Who was the announcer? Yes,
It's too early.
Jim Healy.
Jim Healy. There.
Too early.
Okay, and
It
what
is.
and what did the
Coffee.
ring card girl look like?
I don't think they had ring card girls.
It was a fat Mexican guy.
Oh my God.
And
That guy's a legend.
and who was the advertisement on the canvas?
None.
You got it.
Clean
None.
canvas.
Nothing on the
Clean.
canvas.
But do you know the phone number,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What's the phone
Here, I
number?
tell you what. Let's have people call in. You know, on the Twitter, the phone number of the Olympic Auditorium. I guarantee you, a lot of people know it. It's legend.
You got to be over a certain age.
It's legendary.
Yeah, but I don't know.
You'll see. They'll give it to you.
Erod asked an interesting mythical matchup.
Love mythical matchups. Some people hate them. Do you hate mythical matchups? It drives some people crazy. Like, why are we talking about a guy from the 30s fighting a guy from the 70s? They get all worked up. I'm like, it's a fantasy, man. It's a myth. Don't worry about it. People kid. It drives people crazy.
Yeah, I haven't read into it as much, but so I haven't seen this one. I don't know if you've been asked this or not. Erod asked Canelo versus Oscar De La Hoya at 155.
I'll go with De La Hoya. The junior middleweight version of De La Hoya from 2001 that was trained by Floyd Mayweather Sr. So the version of De La Hoya that won the WBC 154-pound title from Javier Castillejo, real tough hombre from Spain. That version of De La Hoya outpoints Canelo Alvarez. I think so.
Wow.
Now the version, and I think maybe the version of De La Hoya from 2002 that defeated Fernando Vargas, I think he has a tougher time because he had lost a little bit of spring in his step by then. I think he has enough ring savvy, the jab, the hand speed, and the lateral movement. See, the lateral movement, that's the problem with Canelo. Canelo has heavy feet. He's got good, fast, educated hands, great combinations. He needs guys to come forward to him.
Chris Stopsy says,
You know.
Doug, restart the Gym Wars shows.
Oh, you remember the Gym Wars shows? Do you know about the Gym Wars
I don't
shows?
know what the Gym Wars shows are.
So we're back with Max Boxing 15, 17 years ago. We used to go to the different gyms and we would film sparring.
Nice.
And we would, sometimes we'd commentate over them or sometimes we would just show them. And it was like legendary guys. Like it would be like James Toney
Tell
or
them
the
when you saw
late.
James Stone. What happened to James Stone?
What do you
When
mean?
you-
Oh, we saw. Oh, that's lost footage though. We never put that up there. It got the tape got confiscated by Bill Kaplan's daughter, Debbie Kaplan.
Oh, yeah.
We saw James Toney sparring these like 300-pound dudes, and his Achilles tendon snapped. And did you know when it snaps, you can hear it? It's like a pop. Yeah. And he went down in agony. Yeah, it was insane. That was at Wild Card Boxing Club.
Then he came back, though.
He did come back. He always came back. Yeah, James Toney was insanely tough. But I think the junior middleweight version of De La Hoya from 2003 on, I think Canelo would be too strong for him.
So who do you think was Oscar's most effective trainer? He had a lot of trainers.
I would say Jesus Rivero. But Jesus had Oscar boxing in a manner that was not fan friendly. With Jesus, it was Rivero he kept things very simple, which is what wise people do. Keep it simple. Like you got it right. You got a great jab. You were a great amateur.
Right.
You got a great pair of legs because Oscar would float. If you go and you watch like Oscar's first fight against Julio Cesar Chavez, he's gliding around the ring like he's on roller skates, and just he's just picking apart the face of this great Mexican champion. But Rivero is just like, get on the balls of your feet and work that jab. And, you know, Oscar's a converted southpaw, so his left was really strong. And he said, you'll win every fight that way. Keep everyone at the end of your jab. They can't hurt. You're going to wear them down with your jab, and you're going to outpoint them, and they're not going to hurt you as long as you do that. And so that version of De La Hoya would have been very hard to beat.
That's one of my questions.
But I liked how he looked when Manny Stewart trained him.
Yeah.
And I thought Mayweather Sr. was really good for him.
He was great.
Yeah, I think Mayweather Sr. got a little bit more out of De La Hoya because I think De La Hoya's genetics or what have you. I don't think he was meant to have like a really long career, like a 15, 20-year boxing career. I think he was really one of these guys that he was going to be at his best for like 8 or 9 years, you know, and then and that's normal, by the way. But I think Mayweather Sr., you know, even when De La Hoya, you know, he was filthy rich by this point, and like, you know, he had other interests other than training his ass off, you know. I think Mayweather Sr. Worked him out really hard during those camps and got him into the best mental and physical condition that he could be at that stage of his career and his life. So.
And what famous fighter almost became his trainer?
Oh, Carlos Ortiz. Carlos Ortiz was supposed to train him out of the Olympics. Dad didn't like it.
Back to sparring, Christoph.
Well, actually, Robert Alcazar didn't like it, and Robert Alcazar was best buddies with Oscar's dad.
Krastovsky mentioned he thought Valero was his favorite guy to watch spar.
Oh my God, one of my favorites. Valero was amazing. Like if you look at all of Valero's like actual fights, that's not Valero at his best. Like with the sparring, you saw some of his boxing ability, particularly his sparring from like 2003 through 2004. You know, like he was a really crafty guy. He could set traps. He was explosive. He was ambidextrous. He had good legs. He was a great judge of distance.
Oscar got rid of him.
Yeah. Well, Oscar's dad was his manager for a while. Yeah. I think they might have. I don't know. I think maybe that contract might have been annulled or something once he was once it was evident that he was unable to fight in the United States.
Yeah. Rod R76 asks Mosley or Crawford at 140.
Ooh, I'll go with Crawford because Crawford's the more versatile of the two.
But at 135?
Mosley was used to, Mosley as a lightweight, he was so big and strong and athletic and explosive. He boxed well. He was a good boxer. You know, he's a very good amateur boxer. But he liked to overwhelm guys. He didn't like to really think too much in there. He could think a little bit. He didn't like to think a lot. And I just think that Crawford would have made him think. Crawford was tough enough to take that power, to acclimate to the speed. Mosley would give him a lot of trouble early in the fight with his speed. And I wouldn't be shocked if he stunned or hurt or even dropped Crawford in the early going. But I think Crawford's conditioning, I think he has good recuperative ability. And his heart would see him through some rough spots early, and then he would basically outclass Mosley from the middle of the fight on to the end, I think. But you know, guys with hand speed will give Crawford trouble early, and if you're quick enough and you can reach his chin quick enough, like who's the little Cuban, Yuriorkis Gamboa. Gamboa stunned him a few times, and that was speed. That was like, Crawford's got fast hands, but he's not like super fast, you know. So them guys can spring on him sometimes. But I'll go with Crawford at 140.
Crawford at 140. Coach, you have a pick?
off last night. But I like them both. They're both great. I think Crawford will win.
Crawford gets the nod.
Yeah.
Hey, so did anyone have the phone number?
No one had the phone number. No phone numbers.
Do you remember
That means
it,
we have a
Dougie?
young demographic.
Do you remember it? Wow. I guess you have to be 80 or over.
Or at least, got to be at least 60.
So let me ask, one of my questions was
Yeah.
the De La Hoya Julio Cesar Chavez first fight, which I was at.
That was Caesar's Palace,
Caesar
outdoors. right?
Outdoors. It was really hot.
Yeah.
And
What was this time of year?
Steve Wynn was sitting right next to me.
Oh, wow.
Mike Tyson was right there.
Wow.
And so do you remember how it ended?
It was stopped on cuts.
Yeah, but the cut supposedly.
He entered the bout with
Yeah.
at least one cut.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either from sparring or I think he said he was playing with his kid and accidentally busted his head or something crazy.
But the thing is, the price was real close in that fight.
Yeah.
It
Well.
was real close.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Chavez had a legion of loyal fans that were going to bet on him versus anybody.
I mean, Oscar was a favorite, but not that big a favorite.
Listen, there was talks in '99 for Chavez to fight Shane Mosley. When Mosley first stepped up to welterweight. And Mosley would have absolutely annihilated him. And luckily, Chavez was upset by a guy named Willie Wise, and that stopped it because the Mexican media, the writers, the Mexican sports writers at the time, they all thought that Chavez could do something, somehow get in Mosley's grill and push him back on his heels and out-muscle him, which was insanity. But they weren't thinking straight. It was like how people viewed Muhammad Ali in the late 70s when he was totally shot, or even going into that 1980 fight against Larry Holmes. There were a lot of people who bet on Ali.
I went to that fight. There were about 30 people there at someone's house.
Yeah.
I was the only guy that thought Holmes would win.
Yeah, well, you were seeing clearly.
I mean, everyone was shocked.
Yeah.
So let me ask you how's Steve Wynn doing these days?
I don't know.
You know about it?
No.
He got busted
For what?
sexual harassment.
Oh, yeah.
And I suppose
He's
they're
part of that
taking his.
club. It's a big-ass club.
I was shocked.
Yeah.
Suppose they're taking his name off the thing and everything.
Really? They doing all that?
Off the hotel?
Yeah,
Steve Wynn wanted to be a player in boxing for such a long time. He made moves to sign Michael Nunn, and he was throwing crazy money, like multi-million-dollar paydays and contracts.
Buster Douglas.
Yeah, well, he got Douglas.
I know he got him. Paid him a fortune.
And Douglas got him right out of boxing.
He did.
Yep, this is a very risky business. Yeah.
Hey,
But he was wanting to get involved in boxing at least from the mid '80s.
So Wynn had the money. Eddie Hearn now has the money. Does he have a chance to make an effort with the American market? He's going to make the effort.
I don't know how comfortable American boxing fans are going to be with a streaming platform. With that being the only way to watch the fight, I think there's a lot of folks who are old school. Like, I'm not an old guy, but I had I wasn't able to watch Terrence Crawford, Jeff Horn on my TV, and I really wanted to. But maybe people just we'll get educated. A long time ago, people used to say nobody would ever watch anything on their computer or their laptop. And now people of all ages are watching entire programs on phones, like a tiny screen.
But they'd also say cell phones are never. Why would you have a cell phone?
Right.
There's pay phones every place.
Exactly.
So it's the
You're
same
exactly
deal.
right.
But
So
they have to
people do
make it
catch up.
more customer friendly. With the ESPN
And it's got to be
Plus.
affordable too. And I'm hearing it's like $20 a month for DAZN, and that's a lot.
The English pay something like that for Sky Sports, don't they?
Or maybe Box Nation.
Box Nation, is that what it is?
Box Nation, yeah.
Okay.
I think Eddie Hearn's. I really like him.
Yeah.
And he's really smart.
No doubt.
Everything about him I like. His integrity, everything. But I think he's in for a shock. Not just with that thing, but like when he signed Danny Jacobs and he put him in that arena way out there in Long Island.
Yeah.
I think this is not England.
No.
It's a whole different deal. And in England, boxing is one of the biggest sports. And in the U.S., it used to be, but a long time ago. And you're never going to get those people back. It's definitely a niche sport. It's doing really well right now. One thing
24 pounds a month or 24 euros a month for Sky Sports is what Rodriguez RPM says. They had a question for you also, Coach. They asked what old fighters used to drink a lot or use substances and were still successful.
All of them. They all used to drink.
Everyone drank.
Those are hard drinking motherfuckers, man. I'm not bullshitting. Yeah. I've talked to guys like, you talk to Don Chargan, all those guys that fought at the Olympics. He said that helped him make fights because they were all buddies. They would train together, and they'd go out and after their fights they would party together, but they'd get into it. Yeah. They'd get drunk, and one guy would try to mess around with another guy's girlfriend, or was making goo-goo eyes, or his girlfriend's looking at him, and then they hate each other. And they come into the office on Monday and like, I want to fight so-and-so. I'm like, are you sure? And Chargan would say, but that guy's your friend. You guys have been buddies since you were kids. I don't care. I want to fight so-and-so. You'd be like, okay,
Hey, what was one of the greatest grudge fights?
But with boxing folklore, like when you go back to like the real old timers, like the 20s and 30s, or even like to the bare knuckle era, like with John L. Sullivan, that was as much as their reputation as their fistic prowess was their ability to drink people under the table. So John L. Sullivan would walk into a bar and say, I can drink any man under the table. Let's go. And he looked at it like a competition. And then you fast forward all the way to James Toney. He didn't just drink. He drank too much. He smoked too many cigars. And he way overdid it on the food. And like the rich foods and the sweets and the cake and pie and ice cream, and he still fought his ass off.
Before his fight with Roy Jones,
yeah,
he came over. He had dinner at my house.
Yeah.
This is about 2 weeks before. You're watching everything. I had to be careful what I had there,
right,
because of the weight. When he left my house, he went to Fatburger. That's the truth.
So he ate dinner at your place, and then
but I was watching everything. I had no sweets, nothing, the whole thing. And then he snuck off to Fatburger. And then the Monday of that fight, he was 15 pounds overweight.
Well, we know why.
Yeah. But he also...
So he loved being at heavyweight because 2 weeks before he fought Dominic Gwynn on Showtime, Gary Gittleson had a celebration at his country club in the Valley for Brian Valoria, who had just won his first world title. And a bunch of boxing luminaries were there, including Sugar Ray Leonard, and Tony was there.
And Josephine.
And my daughter was there. Tony was the superstar. All eyes on James Toney because he's the life of the party. He has fun, the music plays, and he's dancing with my daughter who's like 2 or 3 years old, and it's just, he's great. They had like a sundae bar, so they make ice cream sundaes. And he's having a big old thing, like almost like a tray of like ice cream, but he's having them put everything on it: the crushed nuts, like M&Ms,
nice.
Like the chocolate sauce, the marshmallow, the melted marshmallow, the caramel, all that stuff. And he's eating it, and he's got like a major fight 2 weeks away. And he's like leaning on the ropes in the fight, and Dominic Gwynn trained his ass off with Joe Goosen in Van Nuys, and hot conditions and everything, and he came to win, and he was a really talented young fighter who had a good amateur background, but James Toney just schooled him.
So good.
It's crazy. He was good on like 50% without really being dedicated, which tells you he could have been an all-time great.
But he knew how to pace himself,
he did.
how to relax.
He understood. He had a great trainer. He had an old-school trainer in Bill Miller.
Boxnard asks about Eric Morales being in the Boxing Hall of Fame. How
so worthy. Man, so worthy. Yeah. If you tried to do, like if you did a top 10 of Eric Morales' greatest fights, you have to leave off like 5 or 6 great fights. You can't fit them all in like 10 fights. It's amazing, yeah. Morales is so great that he's somebody that I really love to watch and respect, even though I didn't like him when he was young, because I was a Marco Antonio Barrera guy, and they were rivals. And so the way it was, at least here in Southern California, you were either a Barrera fan or you were a Morales fan. And I was a Barrera guy, and I always wanted to see Barrera beat Morales, but partly because of their rivalry, and also partly because Morales was a real salty son of a bitch. Like when you'd interview him, like he could be kind of nasty to writers and all. I kind of liked it when he lost, or I didn't like him that much, but he was so great. He gave so much of himself every time he fought that, you know, by the time he was fighting Pacquiao, I was like, you know what, I got to root for this guy. Even though I wanted Pacquiao to win, I was like, I had to be happy for Morales for upsetting Pacquiao in that first fight. Maybe his last great performance. I'll tell you what his last great stand was that majority loss to Marcos Maidana. He fought with one eye. And I thought gave Maidana a better fight than Floyd Mayweather did in 2 fights. Fighting on fumes, muscle memory, and one eye.
We're at 50 minutes.
50.
Oh, wow. Man, we go on. You got any more? Give me
Here's the
one more.
question I'm going to give you. This is a tough one.
Shit, we just ramble on and on.
Maybe, Nick, you can get this one, too. This happened in Tokyo.
Uh-huh.
Edwin Valero KO'd out a guy in 7 for the WBA super featherweight title.
I was there.
In Tokyo?
Yeah. This is January 2007, right?
No. This is just a different fight.
Oh, okay. When was this?
This is June 12th, 2008.
Oh, okay.
This is the sparring guy, right? The Valero?
Yeah,
No,
Valero.
no,
I was going to say
Valero-
Michael Lozado,
No.
but that was his
this
first
is a fight
defense.
he had, a regular fight.
Yeah.
He won KO 7
Oh,
for
yeah.
the WBA super
It's
featherweight.
a Japanese dude.
Yeah, exactly.
I forget the dude's name. I think he stopped him on cuts.
Right.
The Japanese dude wanted out of the fight, and he started doing intentional headbutts, but he cut himself up.
What's his name?
I can't remember.
You know, Nick?
I remember him though. He was he was a tough guy. He was like a fringe contender type, lower top 10. It's funny. I can
I'll give
see
you
the name.
How about his first name? Takahiro.
Takahiro.
Yeah, that's very common. It's
Yeah.
like Jason. You know, it's like John Shimada. I knew the last name started with the letter
Okay,
S.
here, I'll give you this one. This is real easy. June 11th, that's tomorrow, 1982.
Keep going, guys. I'm still on my walk, says MC Brown 45.
Oh yeah. Hey, what's up, Mike? That's Mike Brown.
Oh, Mike Brown.
Yeah, we met him.
That's good.
He's joined
Mike
us here a couple
Brown, he
times.
might know the phone number.
Oh yeah,
I
Mike.
think.
Yeah, ask that
Yeah.
question. Ask Mike the
Yeah, ask
question.
Mike. Yeah,
of,
hey Mike, what's the phone number of the Olympic Auditorium?
Yeah, because
Famous.
Mike was close with the Queries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Query brothers.
This fight was one of the most anticipated fights in history.
What?
June 11th, 1982 was on pay-per-view.
Mike
Oh.
asked Richmond. Was it Richmond? The gym?
Yeah, Richmond. Yeah.
Yeah.
The number?
Did he give you the number?
No number yet. It
It was,
sounds,
that was
he's
the
thinking.
prefix, Richmond.
Yeah.
He's thinking
Everyone
about
they had, you know, like,
That's so old school.
oh, yeah. Richmond, okay.
That's funny.
Okay.
1982?
1982, June 11th.
Was this
You know,
heavyweights?
It was in Las Vegas.
Okay,
It was heavyweights.
Larry Holmes, Jerry
Yeah,
Cooney.
Yeah. That's a good fight.
I've never seen it in its entirety.
That's the first fight that my son Jordy ever saw.
Wow.
He was 2 years old.
Jordy.
2 years old. We watched it on
Boxing
TV,
history.
Yeah.
Wow. Witnessed some history, huh?
Yeah. Okay.
That was kind of a polarizing, like a racially polarizing fight,
Okay, I'll give you this
at
one.
least in some circles.
This guy wins. 2 famous guys. This is June 9th, 2006.
Okay.
Okay, Atlantic City. This guy wins the light heavyweight title. 12-round decision.
I'm sorry, what was the year?
2006.
Oh, 2006.
Yeah, you know it.
Yeah, this is Bernard Hopkins beating Antonio Tarver. And Hopkins was an underdog.
I have 2 people asking the same question about Broner. They said, did Maidana break Broner? Because his punch output was never the same after that, but
No, I don't think so. I think that Broner was really effective. Broner, in some ways, was like Shane Mosley, where he was an experienced amateur, but not like he wasn't an Olympian, right? Like he fell short of like winning like all the major tournaments and stuff. Although Mosley won a number of national tournaments, but he couldn't get by Vernon Forrest to make the Olympic team in 1992. Broner had a lot of experience and a lot of talent, and at 130, 135 pounds, he was so huge he could overwhelm guys. So it wasn't just his boxing talent, it was athleticism and size. And once he stepped up, like once Mosley stepped up to 147, and he was fighting a certain class of opponent, he wasn't as dominant as he was at lightweight. So Broner stepping up. See, Broner, like Shane, went from 135, where he could have reigned for a long time and whooped a lot of ass if he could continue to make the weight safely. He went from 135 to 147, and he fought Paulie Malignaggi in his debut, and Malignaggi really gave him a tough fight.
Who do you think won that? Because it was
I
pretty
thought it was
close.
either way. I thought it was 7-5. If you know, it depended. I wasn't ringside for it. Okay.
Right.
So, but I watched it with my dad at Dave's place at the old Rent-A-Wreck.
Paulie was active.
And I think I had it for Broner 115, 113, and my dad had it for Malignaggi 115, 113. And I could understand my dad's scorecard, because my dad was going on the volume. He said, Paulie's just outworking him.
Mm-hmm.
And I agreed with that, but I could also tell that, you know, when Broner was getting off, he was getting off with some hard shots. So it was, and he was accurate. He had a high connect rate with his punches. But I thought that was an either way. That was a 7-5 kind of fight either way. It could have been a draw. But that let me know that, you know what, Broner is not the dominant force at welterweight as he was at lightweight. So you put him in there with Maidana, who is a volume puncher and applies pressure and has really heavy hands, like world-class power. That's a bad combination for Broner. And I was ringside for that fight in San Antonio, the Maidana-Broner fight. And in fact, I did the international call, I think, with Dave Bontempo. It was really exciting. And I tell you what, Broner showed me a lot. It showed me how tough he was, because he took a tremendous beating. But I don't think it's like that fight ruined him. I just think fighting at the heavier weight, he's not as effective as he was. And then he made so much money. He's made a lot of money, and he's got, you know, in comparison to most U.S. boxers, he has a name. He's got more fame than your average. What was that?
How many kids
Got a
does he
lot
have?
of kids. Yeah, he's a street dude.
Better be.
He's a Cincinnati ghetto kid.
You were talking about him reigning for.
But so I don't think he's he's as focused and dialed in and disciplined as he should be, or as he could be. So I think that's a factor as well. And now that he's making, he tries to fight at 140, but he struggles to make 140. That's hard for him.
Yeah, he's at 144 now. It's not
Yeah,
even,
so he kind of makes up his own weight.
doing the Canelo thing.
Yeah, which I mean, he can do it. Guys will do it to fight him, because you know what?
They're doing
Broner
it. But...
sells tickets, and he gets in ratings. It was hilarious where he posted on Instagram that Eddie Hearn offer. I don't know if that's real or not, but it's like, I thought it was comedy. I'm like, you're gonna really turn down those numbers or whatever? He's like, you're not offering me as much as Rock Nation did. I'm like, Rock Nation ain't around, man. They're already gone. What are you talking about, Rock? Obviously, Rock Nation didn't know what the fuck they were talking about or doing. But I don't know. It's like, I think that's you know, Eddie Hearn's dodging a bullet, to be quite honest.
I spoke to Eddie in Tokyo. I caught up with him, and he said it was a real offer.
Yeah.
And some people asked, was it a part of the plan
Right.
to offer that to Broner, knowing he would turn it down?
Yeah, or knowing that he'd make it public.
I asked him, and he said no, it wasn't the plan at all. It was a real offer, and it was, you know, and he and now I have a lot. My Instagram is filled with messages. My phone's ringing off the hook. So thank you, Mr. Broner.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he did plan it, he's a genius, and if not, he lucked out with that. I think he dodged a bullet, and you know, is it true that he met up with Keith Thurman in Japan?
We're not sure, but they're both there at the same time.
They were both there at the same time.
Yeah, and his wife is actually from Japan. Keith Thurman's is, or she lives there, and
I think she lives there, but I think she's Indian.
Yeah, you're right. And so I tried to catch up with him at a gym, but he just popped into a random boxing gym one day, and everyone was excited to see him and put on a show. And
I like Keith. Just too bad he doesn't fight.
He's smart. He's smart.
But he's like a rock star to me. I mean, I really like it. I enjoy his.
He could do announcing. He's a great speaker.
He's very good. He's very thoughtful.
So
Exactly.
do you have your ponytail because of him?
Yes.
Did you really?
I did. I grew that out real quick. I was watching this kid in the amateur, like, who's this young, dashing young man with that power and speed and accuracy and his personality with a ponytail? I'm going to do that.
Do you pay him fees for that?
No. He's nice. He's nice enough to let me off the hook there.
Also,
as long as I wear my glasses.
Thurman does treatment out there too.
Yeah,
with
that's why he's there.
what's that needle treatment called?
Acupuncture
Yeah,
is way
that's
into
what it
that.
is.
Yeah.
Have you ever had that?
No, those
get
are
it.
needles. I'm
No,
not a
it's the
needle
best.
guy.
It works.
I get it all the time.
Really?
Oh, it's really good.
He's smart. I like Keith. I just he's not the factor he was in 2014, which is crazy because since 2014 there was the PBC, which was launched in like early 2015. He opened their first show on NBC, doing great ratings, got paid well. Then he fought on ESPN, and then he fought on CBS, I think it was, and then maybe back on NBC. So he was fighting on network TV.
Within an hour. I don't know if there's
Yeah.
a time limit.
Yeah.
Did you watch the CBS fights last Friday?
No, I missed him. That was Mike Lee, right?
Mike Lee. It's okay.
Yeah.
Mike Lee has this manager who's Shane Shapiro. He's a really good guy.
Yeah.
Shapiro.
Really good guy.
Yeah.
And I put on the fights, and there's, Teddy Atlas.
Oh yeah.
Who makes me crazy. He's really smart.
Yes.
And I can't watch it. I keep watching it. Teddy Atlas was actually good.
On CBS.
Yeah, he was
So
really
he was
good.
calling those fights. Cool.
He was good. He said a lot of good things, smart things. He was sort of calm. He was pretty funny, and he didn't take himself as seriously. So
Oh, good.
I don't know. I could watch it. I liked it actually.
So I just thought of something on the Keith Thurman front. So they were talking about they might have just pushed back his fight again. His comeback fight was supposed to be in August, right?
Yeah.
We're talking September. If he did meet with Eddie Hearn, Eddie Hearn's making the debut for
Yes.
the Zone in September.
Yes,
So maybe
that's
he
true.
really did sign with Eddie. That's just,
Yeah.
rumor
And
starting
I'm
here.
hearing he's planning on something really big for November, like a big November, like pay-per-view level show in November.
Really?
So, yeah.
And then they announced it's supposed to be in June of some of the fighters he's picked up, I believe.
Oh, good. I'm looking forward
Later
to that.
this month, I mean.
Yeah, later
or-
this month.
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So how, if you were in that business and you were trying to make boxing more mainstream again,
Yeah.
do you think it's a possibility?
Yeah.
And how would you do it?
These MMAs and everything out here.
Yeah.
I think you got to give the product away. I think you got to treat boxing like crack. You got to get people hooked. So it's hard when you do these subscription streaming. So I would do streams. I would you have to fundraise, but I would, for a full year, I would put it on as many platforms as possible. But I would try to go with like a tournament type, because that was the problem with the PBC is they were on networks and they put so much into the bells and whistles and the production and all. They forgot you gotta focus on the fights, number one. So the fights have got to be good. It's not just about like you can't come out the gate saying, hey, we have stars. You can't tell people we have the stars. The people have to decide that for themselves. So what you do is you got to say, hey, we got this boxing series. These guys are all pretty good. How good are they? We're gonna find out, because they're all gonna fight each other. And so with the tournament setting, there's some kind of direction. Good fights make for more significant good fights, hopefully great fights, and you keep building up. That's what gets everyone, like hardcore fans, get excited when they know the winner of this fight is going to fight the winner of that fight. Like everyone's watching Crawford Horn. We all know what's going to happen. All anyone can think about is Crawford versus Spence. But are we going to get that? So when you give fans like that gratification, then you got the sort of situation that you have with the UFC. Like they have fans just like pro wrestling does, because they know the top dogs are all going to eventually face each other no matter what. So boxing used to be that way. So I think that's the element you have to bring back. I think the best way to do it is to lock everybody into a tournament situation where they're contracted to go through this tournament. So that way, and then you got to put it on as many platforms. It can't just be streaming. It's got to be network. It's got to be streaming. It's got to be on YouTube. It's got to be on you've got to be free. You got to give it away.
Tournament speaking, the World
Then.
Boxing Super Series is going to be
Exactly.
on there. People are commenting,
Yeah.
a couple of them.
Oh, is the Super Series going to be on DAZN?
That seems to be the conversation.
That's
yeah.
smart. That's
good.
smart. Well, I mean, he'll listen. Hearn will have hardcore fans, really hard, like guys like me, subscribing to that, because
Because he mentioned something
I
like
can't get
50
enough
fights a year on it, so 16 for the American,
Yeah.
16 for the British fights,
Yeah.
and then he just said 50 out of nowhere, so that's why it led everyone to believe the Super Series might be involved.
So personally, I'm just gonna have to get like Roku if I can't figure it out with the damn Fire Stick. I'm just gonna have to get like a Roku, and
these
maybe
smart
it's easier.
TVs too. Some of them.
Yeah, these smart. Maybe
smart
just get a
TV.
new TV because the smart TVs, it's all enabled.
You know, I took a friend to Tom Loeffler's club show in Hollywood.
Yeah.
He'd never been to a fight before. He got hooked.
Yeah, that's what
That
happened.
one, we went there, and Tom Loeffler has his presentation, the whole thing. It was really good. His second show was really good.
And he doesn't geo-block those,
No.
and it's a free stream,
Yeah.
and that's how you do it. That's
Right.
how, and see, and he's gonna build. There's gonna be fans. He's gonna make fans out of guys like Sergey Boachuk and that Brian Sabalo guy who looks really good. They both look like studs. They look like future stars,
So
but
my
you got to see
friend-
them, and they got to be put in tough.
Yeah, he reads everything about boxing now. He only went to those fights.
Wow.
I mean, he knows stuff. I mean, he knew about the fights last night at Staple. He sort of, from that one day, but I can remember the first time I was 10 years old
Yeah.
when I went to a fight. I can remember like it happened an hour ago, walking into the Olympic Auditorium
Oh, wow. That was your
and
first
seeing that ring, all the smoke,
Yeah, they
and the
smoked
whole
that.
thing. It was like I have friends like that have been going for a long time too, and they sort of had the same experience.
Wow.
You can remember it. So my friend, who's an older guy, and he got hooked just going to that one fight. So I think that's one way to do it too.
Yeah.
And so, but streaming those fights, you go to it.
I would
and
have
you
a
follow
club
it.
series if I was doing something because you need a farm system to go into the tournaments.
Yeah.
So you have a series of the club fights where you see the prospects. Because I love developmental series. I know some people they can't mess with it because they know who's going to win. But I like watching that progression. And then the people who graduate from the club series, they enter these tournaments.
Yeah.
And you have different levels of tournaments. You have a tournament where the people who win it, or the top three guys, they go from prospect to contender. And then you have a contender tournament, and the people who win the contender tournament, they win a world title, or they're unifying titles.
It's sort of like this. I mean, how many people watch NBA basketball in the regular season, and how many watch the playoffs?
Right. Everyone watches the playoffs,
Right.
and everybody watches the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
The development. So people on here have been talking about.
Yeah.
They want to know the stories of the boxers, and the Olympics
Yeah.
are right around the corner. 2020.
Yeah.
Do we get that involved?
You could. Yeah, well, I don't know. I think that the Olympics were
That'd be a
because
shame.
there's been so much scandal involved. Yeah, corruption.
Eddie Hearn used to do prize fighter 3 by
Yes.
3 rounds. semifinals.
Exactly, prize
Rodriguez.
fighter. That helped. You know what? That helped create. That helped bring British boxing back. That prize fighter tournament. It was really popular.
Was
That's
British
right.
boxing down for a while?
Yeah, it was.
How many? They have 14 champs or something?
Yeah, that helped getting all the champions. But then
So did anyone
Having
get
the right fights.
Richmond 95171?
95171.
There it is. It's been showing at me the whole time.
The last guy I knew that some guy bumped into, and I don't know, we were talking, he knew that number. He just died.
That's great. Oh man.
They're all gone. Anyway, hey Nick, it was great having you here.
Pleasure. Thanks
know
for
your
having me out
stuff.
to LA.
Yeah,
Beautiful weather.
yeah. Dougie, I can't tell you.
You stumped me on Shimoda. Takahiro Shimoda.
I thought you'd get that.
I did too. Well, you know what? It's so weird. I could picture it, but I couldn't quite. I didn't get Taki. In my mind, his name started with an A, and I knew the last name was like SH something.
Are you depressed?
I'll get over it.
That's good.
I'm too tired to
what
be
do you want
depressed.
to tell Nick?
Oh, Nick, you got to drive. You got to drive like you just won the lottery.
Yeah.
Like,
Here.
How's your
Yeah.
driving, Nick?
My driving is nice. I took an Uber though because I don't know my way around here. So
Yeah.
well, that's
they
good.
got me here.
It's a good way to do it.
So you got to really be careful driving.
Yeah.
I just and forget you have the phone with you. I mean, I have to fight it.
Yeah.
The phone rings. I got in an accident a few years ago
Yeah.
just looking at my phone.
No, you can't look.
It takes 1 second, so you got to be careful. It's so important.
Yeah.
So
Good PSA.
you can eat right, you can think right, you can make all kinds of money, and then you get in the car and you could be dead in 2 seconds or
Right.
kill someone
or
else.
mangled.
Yeah.
You know,
So you
or
just
you
gotta.
get
Much
some
love.
injury that it takes you like 3 years to come back from,
I really
or 10
can't.
years.
Much love from the UK.
All right,
Rodriguez
yeah.
said.
Okay.
Oh,
Anyway,
everyone.
Hey, thanks a lot, Nick.
Thanks,
See you
guys.
Have a great week.
Signing off.
You know how to do it?
No.
It's a little X in the top.